I'm absolutely buzzing this morning. I've had 4 cups of coffee, nothing to eat, and I am so ready to film this video. So today I want to talk about self-awareness and the 4 different dimensions of self-awareness and why they're so important. If, like me, you're on a personal growth journey, you're doing this whole self-development thing. So get yourself comfortable, get a drink, make sure you've got snacks if you need them, and let's get into it. So what is self-awareness? Now, if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I love an Oxford Dictionary definition. I just think it's a really good place to start by fully understanding what we're delving into today. So I have my notepad as always, and the Oxford definition of self-awareness is the conscious knowledge of one's own character and feelings. So it's basically how you understand and experience your own feelings and desires. This is so important because it gives you back control, okay? If you're a self-aware person, you are in control of the way you feel. You are in control of how you let others make you feel. And that in turn can form your whole life into being the way you want it to be, rather than just being like a little leaf in the wind that gets blown around and just ends up wherever. You are solely in control of the direction your life is going. So today I want to outline the 4 different types of self-awareness, because if you don't know these, you aren't really going to understand it fully. And it's been amazing for me to learn about these. I'm just going to jump straight into it. So the first is awareness of what other people think about you. I have put this first because this is something that used to bother me so much. I was so conscious of, oh, if I do this, what are these people going to think about me? What are people going to say if I do that? And it stopped me from being true to myself. It stopped me from being true to what I really wanted to do because I was so worried about what other people would say. It's so important to remember that what other people say about us is not a true reflection of who we are. It is just their opinion. They don't have all of the facts. They don't know you inside and out. They don't know every aspect of your personality, of your life, what you've been through. So it can't be a true definition of who you are. What people say and think about you is simply their reaction to how you make them feel. So for example, there could be something within you that creates an emotion of jealousy within that person. It could be your physical appearance, it could be the career that you have, it could be a relationship with your partner, but you are making them feel within themselves jealous. You're not doing it on purpose, but that is the emotion that they get when they think about you. Often the reason that people are talking badly about you is to soothe the feeling of lack within themselves. If they feel that they're lacking in an area that you are not lacking in, they might talk badly about you, they might try and put you down, they might try and make you feel not good enough. It's nothing that you've done. It's just because it helps them feel a little bit better. Now, of course, that's not right, but this is why it's so important to remember that the way that people talk about you, the things that they say about you, is not a true reflection of yourself. It is just a reflection of their feelings. Okay, it is just their feelings being projected outwardly. It could be their insecurity, it could be their fear of failure, but it is nothing to do with you. So although other people's opinions do matter to a certain extent, if you have a high level of self-awareness, you will know that yes, they might matter, but it doesn't necessarily make them true. So you don't have to take things that other people say to heart because it is just them venting their experience. So the second dimension of self-awareness is awareness of the thoughts and feelings that you have about yourself. It is so important to be able to recognize the thoughts and feelings that you're having about yourself on a daily basis. Now, this is not so that we can control these thoughts that we're having about ourselves, but it's so that we can make ourselves aware of whether they are actually true or whether they're just coming from a negative place, whether they're just due to our negative emotions, which could be fear, it could be jealousy, it could be anger. Once you can identify whether those thoughts about yourself are in one of 2 categories, being true or untrue, you then have the power to decide whether you let them affect you. So our brains all have what is called a cognitive bias, and this is what creates our subjective reality. Just because you perceive something as reality doesn't make it true. And I know throughout this video it's going to sound like I'm saying your brain's just lying to you the whole time, but you know, sometimes it kind of is. And something that's been really frequently studied that I find absolutely fascinating is the fact that our brains have a negative bias. And that basically means that if our brain is presented with a positive situation and then an equally negative situation, it will focus on the negative side more. It is more likely to attach memories and our thoughts and our feelings to that negative situation, which means that it's more likely to be remembered and have an effect on your mental and psychological state. So for example, with me on YouTube, I could get maybe 99 positive, wonderful, lovely comments, but that one nasty comment will stick in my brain. Now, it doesn't matter that 99% of them were lovely and were wonderful. It is that 1% that will affect how I feel, that will then create a negative reality, that will then make me feel bad about myself. It doesn't matter that there have been 99 times more nice things said. My brain will focus, because of its negative bias, on that horrible comment. Have you ever had it where somebody just says something so small and it just constantly goes round like a loop in your head, and you can just hear that nasty comment over and over and over? For me, I was really, really bullied at school as a child, and there is one song, this sounds ridiculous, but there is a song that the girl that used to bully me used to sing, and I can still remember the words to this song. She'd completely made it up in my head. From literally 15 years ago, it still replays in my head. And although I have had so many lovely things said about me during the last 15 years, that is the one thing that sticks in my brain. If you're consciously aware that not everything that your brain is telling you is true, then you have the ability to decide whether to let it affect you or not. Now, the one other aspect of why it's so important to be aware of what we think about ourselves is limiting beliefs. So often we tell ourselves things that are completely limiting beliefs without even realising it. These have probably been created from past experiences to keep us safe, but they're no longer serving us. Things that happened to us, things that we created in our childhood, are no longer serving us as adults. So I find that often it's really, really good to have like a mental clear out. Every couple of months, sort of have a mental clear out of all these beliefs that were created from past experiences and work out which ones are healthy and helping us and which ones are no longer serving us. And the way I like to do this is I try and take one day or even half a day and sort of carry around my notebook or my phone, my notes app, and just jot down everything negative that my brain tells me. So for example, if I'm thinking I want to be a millionaire, straight away my brain will say, you're never going to make that. You're not going to be that successful. You'll never be a millionaire. That is a limiting belief. That is negative self-talk, and it is something that often we're not even aware that we're doing. And at the end of the day, when I read back through this notes app or through my notepad and look at all the negative things that my brain has been saying, it really helps my awareness of how I'm talking to myself. It then, the following day, enables me to pick out those comments and to tell myself that's not true. So if the next day I think I want to be a millionaire and my brain goes, that's not going to happen, you're not going to be successful, I can immediately say, that's a limiting belief, that is not true, that doesn't serve me, I'm not going to let it affect my day. So the third dimension of self-awareness, this is a big one for me, and this is something that, again, I'm only just sort of finding out at the moment, but that is awareness of who you really are. If you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I'm a huge advocate for being who you are, for staying weird. My little slogan is stay weird, because it is so freeing. When I got to the point where I actually realised that I was allowed to be exactly who I am, as weird as that was, as crazy as that was, and I couldn't be judged for it, and even if I was judged for it, I wouldn't let it bother me, I felt so free. Now, this step is so important for personal growth, because you can't get to where you want to go if you don't first know where you're coming from. It sounds really typical, it sounds really cliche, but these things are cliche for a reason. It's because they are true. If you don't know who you really are, how are you ever going to become the person you really want to be? How are you ever going to learn which areas you need to work on if you can't be completely honest with yourself? Now, I know that being vulnerable and being open and honest with other people can be really difficult, but you have to be able to have an open and honest conversation with yourself. Now, that is going to be hard, because that means admitting your flaws, admitting your downfalls, working out what you need to work on, where you want to go with it, what needs to be improved on. It is not easy. The first time that I tried to do this with myself, I literally cried for an hour. Cried my eyes out, because it made me feel like, oh my God, I'm the worst human ever. I'm never going to be who I want to be. In actuality, It's a great thing. It is a great thing to be able to admit your downfalls. It's a great thing to be able to admit where you need help and what you need to improve on. That is complete self-awareness of who you really are. It's not just picking out the bits that you like, oh, I have long hair and I have blue eyes. No, this is going really, really deep within. This is going into sort of shadow work side, the things that we never ever want to talk about. But you have to remember that when you're talking with yourself, you are completely safe. You are completely safe within your mind. So don't panic. Sit yourself down and try and get to the real nitty gritty. It is super easy to say, oh, no one likes me. No one likes me. People just don't like me. But why don't they like you? Oh, I don't know. People just don't like me. No, that's not an answer. Is it because maybe you're sometimes abrasive? Is it because you're standoffish? I myself have been known to be very standoffish, which I never thought. But the more I looked at it, I started to realise, well, actually, yeah, maybe I am a bit standoffish. Maybe I am a little bit short with people, or maybe I do come across as not a really warm person, quite cold, and I have my barriers up. And the more that I started to delve into why people didn't like me, it all became really apparent and clear. Now, on the other side of that coin, it also means that you've got to identify your strengths. You've got to go through and work out what you're really good at. What are things that you have complete confidence in yourself with? So for me, I know I can talk and talk and talk, as you're probably learning if you've watched any of the videos on my channel. But I know that when I sit in front of a camera now, I feel confident. This is my happy, safe space. I feel like I can sit and talk to you guys. I can be completely open. That is one of my strengths, hence why I have turned it into my career. So find out the things that you are really, really good at, because when you combine all of these strengths and all of these negative things, that will give you an entire whole complete picture of who you really are. And once you have that, you have your whole picture, you know who you are completely, we can move on to the fourth and final dimension of self-awareness. Now, I know we've talked about the past, we've talked about going back through your childhood, we've talked about things that have happened to you, but the fourth dimension is all about the future, and that is being aware of who you want to become. In effect, this is an awareness of your future self, and this enables us to get from point A, which is who we currently are, to point B, which is who we want to be in the future. Now, one of my favourite things to do when I'm trying to picture my future self is to imagine the highest version of myself. What does she look like? Who is she? What is her physical appearance like? What sort of friends does she have? Where does she live? What sort of car does she drive? Is she married? Does she have children? Go into as much detail as you can about the future person you want to be. Because once you have written down a list of all those things, that basically gives you a master plan and gives you all the tools of how to create that person. So for example, if you want a family and you're currently single, you know that you want to find yourself a partner. You want to find yourself somebody that you can trust, somebody that you love, somebody that you can build a life with, maybe somebody that shares the values that you have. And then you can put in place things to do that. It might be joining a dating site, it might be going out and meeting people, but it just gets that ball rolling. So basically, self-awareness of your future self is literally just creating a plan, like I said at the beginning, to get from where you are now to who you want to be. So to recap, the 4 dimensions of self-awareness. Number 1 is awareness of what others say and think about you. Number 2 is awareness of your thoughts and feelings that you have about yourself. Number 3 is awareness of who you really are currently, right now in this moment. And number 4 is awareness of who you want to become. So those 4 dimensions of self-awareness combined enable you to control the outcome of your life, to control the narrative within your own mind, to give yourself the ability to focus on you and how to get to where you need to be. And that is why they are so important. Remember that your actions, your thoughts and your emotions create your reality. So be as aware of those things as you possibly can. But ultimately, you are in control. If you don't like something about your life, you have the power to change it. So I hope that this video has all made sense. I really hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, please click the subscribe button and the like button down below, and I will see you all in my next video.